Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a leather element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So shop tricks, let's do this again. Let's see if there's something in here that's going to help us out in our shop. Trying to thread a John James needle can be very frustrating, and I hear this from a lot of folks, but we've got an easy fix for this. So right here, this is the cheap hand sewing needle. Now I'm not slamming these, but it's got a big problem. Well, A, nice big eye, easy to thread. Well, that's actually the problem. If we're gonna sew something like a holster, we're gonna break 2, maybe 3 of those while we sew. On the other side of that, the John James needles. I've sewn with these for 7 years. Ever since I started Weaver, I've never broken one. Now, I've bent one pretty bad, but I've never broken one. Well, we've got a very small eye. That's what can be frustrating. So let's do this with our 8mm thread. This is one of my favorites. The first thing I want to do is let's get a little bit of an angled cut, but let's make a very clean cut with that. Let's draw that down. Now, with our fingers, let's pretend these are rollers, and we're simply going to roll that into our needle. So let's line our eye up on that, and let's just roll that just like it were. There we go. Just like 2 rollers. So easy to do. Well, here's a 1.2mm. Yeah, great thing about the Ritza. This comes in multiple sizes. So let's get a good cut on that, clean cut, and let's see with our 1.2 if we can do the same thing. Now, I'm right-handed, so let's see if we can see this. So there we go, right through. How easy is that? And also, too, 3 sizes in the John James. If we've really got some serious sewing to do, look at that needle. That is some beef. That's going to work for us. Now, one more little trick, and we've talked about this, but from time to time, in fact, right here, we can see this, we're going to start to get a little wax building up in the eye of the needle. Makes it hard to lace. All we have to do, let's just hit this with a lighter very briefly. We don't want to get it too hot. And now let's just hit that with a rag. Look at that. Cleans it right out. In fact, it looks brand new. Cutting softer leathers can be a bit of a problem. Getting a good clean cut. We've all had that jagged or that lightning bolt looking cut. Very frustrating. Well, let's do this. This is just some simple paneling. We can get this at any hardware store. Great part about this, easy to cut. We can cut this with just a jigsaw. How about on our back? Let's drop in our non-slip tape. So when I drop that down, there we go. All I have to do is make 4 easy cuts. It is quick, it is clean. And there we go, a perfect cut each and every time. A little paneling, a little non-slip tape. It's going to be a big help to us. Whether we're setting spots by machine or hand, there's something we've got to watch out for. That's our tine or our spike length. Now, if we get our spots from, say, a retail store or hobby store, typically they're 1/4 inch. But when you jump up to a company like Weaver, we sell these with multiple lengths. So therefore, say we're setting spots in a piece of skirting. Well, now we've got a longer tine. It's going to work for us. Here's the problem. If we're using a lighter weight, which most of us typically do, what's going to happen is right here, we've got a 1/4 inch tine length. That's what I tend to use for most everything. Right here, we've got a 5/16 inch tine length. The problem here is that because of the lighter weight of the leather, the tine is actually longer than the width of the spot. So when we go to set this, what's going to happen? Yeah, that's exactly right. This is, you know what? What a mess, okay? So with a 1/4 inch, let's pin those in. Perfect. Let's give that a tap. Nice. Now I can't even feel that. Those have sunken in. But right here, this has happened to me recently. The only length I had in my shop was a 5/16. Well, we can deal with this. So let's push this through just like we normally would. But now let's take a pair of wire cutters and let's just clip off the tips of those tines. Good. Now we bend that in. Give that a tap. Just right. So when we're ordering these, let's make sure we go with a 1/4 inch. Unless we need more length, then let's jump over to a 5/16 inch. Snaps are a great addition to any project. They're inexpensive, easy to set, and best of all, most helpful. But the problem is, and this has plagued me since day one, The depth of our post, say with a line 24, if we're going to go with an 8 to 9 ounce, well, it's no problem, sets nicely. If we bump up to a 9-10 or maybe even a 10-11, that post is just not going to span that depth. And finding a longer post, almost impossible. Now, this is not an optimum way to go by any means, but it's worked for me several times. So let's start right here. I'm going to punch a much larger hole than I need for my post. That's a 3/16. So for our base, when we're going to drop our base in there, let's do this. Let's take that. We're going to put that right over that hole and just press down, okay? I can see roughly the outside of that snap. Let's take a ball peen hammer. Now, this is why we overpunch, because as we hammer this down, it's going to close that hole. There we go. We don't want to punch too much. Now, we're not removing leather. We're actually compressing. So now I can drop that through. Very nice. And there we are. I've got just enough height on that post to set that. Good. Well, actually, that's in there pretty well. Now, for the cap side, let's reverse that, because I'm going to turn this over, and my female piece will be on this side. Good. Now let's drop that through. Put that on our anvil. And there we go. That sets perfectly. Again, not optimal, but it's certainly going to help us get through just a little bit thicker leather with our line 24s. I'm not sure if this is going to be a great trick or tip or not, but we're definitely going to have a little nostalgia here. Now, for the newer folks, we tend to work on our coffee table or kitchen table. I did. That's where we're going with this. If you can believe it or not, this is my original cutting board, my first leather tool. I found a good thick piece of plywood in the trash. Someone had coated this with carpet. In all honesty, I've still got the dining room table that I started on. There's not a mark on it, and this is why. How about that? My original cutting board. I hope this is good information for you. I hope there are some good tricks and tips here that are going to help you out, because the biggest point, hands down, let's enjoy the time in our shop. And if we do, our projects, they're absolutely going to reflect that. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.